What's going on, y'all? My Tripp here with Tripp Talk, back with another video. And today I'm hitting on something that's really near and dear to my heart, something I feel like is really going to help you guys out, something that has really helped me out. I'm not really going to regurgitate any information that I got from anybody else today or any other day for that matter. But today I'm actually going to hit on, like I always do, my personal journey with today's topic and how it has helped me out. And hopefully you guys, hopefully it can help you out as well, and hopefully you guys can resonate with my personal story. So the topic today is the importance of solitude. The importance of solitude. Now, before we get into the message, what is solitude? Now, the way it was explained to me, from what I've read, the simple explanation in regards to what solitude is it is the state of being alone, but not being lonely. So solitude is the state of being alone by yourself, but not being lonely. Loneliness is one of the most dangerous feelings to have. It's one of the most scariest feelings to have for us all. Nobody likes to feel lonely. Nobody wants to be alone. And you'll see this is very evident if you look close at your life. Everybody has friends. Everybody want to go out with their friends. Everybody want to be around their friends all the time. It's very hard for people to be alone. And going further, even furthermore with that, it's very hard for people to be alone. But if you do end up alone, it will then be super, super hard for you to not watch TV, for you to not get on social media on your phone. We as people, we got to have something. Even if I have somebody over, if we as people invite somebody over, we always feel like we gotta fill up the time with as much conversation as possible. We always feel like something always got to be said, something always got to be done. I gotta cook something, we gotta watch TV, let's play a game, let's do this. Silence and solitude is what we need, but it's very hard for us humans to get there. It is very hard because the scariest feeling for us humans is the feeling of loneliness. And I remember when I first figured that out, I was reading a book called Reaching Out. It's called Reaching Out, the 3 movements of the spiritual life. And the first movement is solitude. And so there was one situation where, for the first time in my life, and I don't want to get into too much detail, for the first time in my life, I didn't have my son around. I didn't have any friends around. There was a period of about 2 to 3 days where I was just completely alone, right? Completely alone. And, I wanted to go out, I wanted to, do different things, or I was looking to do different things, but I actually had tapped in with my mentor and let him know, let him know at the time what I was feeling. And he recommended the book Reaching Out. Again, the first movement towards the spiritual life is solitude. And so the advice he gave me was to, not get antsy, not feel like you have to really do anything. Read this book, enjoy your solitude, enjoy your aloneness, and read this book and practice the state of silence and solitude, which I'll get into a little bit more in this video. Silence and solitude, which is also it coincides with meditation, which all kind of goes in the same bucket. So I did that, and I realized right then and there, when I first practiced this silence and solitude being the very first thing I practiced, was just staying there and being alone and not getting on my phone and watching TV, but just reading a book, having that silence. It was so hard. It was so hard for me to experience that, because it was just me. It was just my thoughts. I had nowhere to run. I had nothing to distract me. I had, I just basically had no distractions. It was just me, my thoughts, my flaws, and everything, and everything just looking me in my face, because I'm just alone. And that's when that stuff comes out. And that's why it's hard for us to be alone, because when we're alone, that type of stuff comes out. You start, thinking about the things you've done wrong, the things you don't like about yourself start coming to the surface. Everything starts coming to the surface when we're alone. because we have nothing to distract us. I'm not talking about being alone in your house, but you're watching TV. I'm not talking about being alone in your house and you know, playing a game on your phone. I'm talking about being alone in your house and getting away from the phone, getting away from the TV, just sitting there in silence and solitude. Let me tell you the importance of silence and solitude briefly. One of the importance of it is that's how you hear God's voice. God is not going to yell at you. He's not going to scream in your ear. The way God communicates with us is through a whisper. It's through a whisper. And so when you take heed to that, and when you grasp that concept, you realize why silence and solitude is important. You realize why silence and solitude is the way you hear God's voice. That's how you hear God's voice, through your intuition. Because in that silence and solitude, you're going to hear little whispers. Your intuition is going to be kicking in. Of course, it's going to, like I said, it's going to be hard at first. You're going to be tempted to turn on the TV. You're going to be tempted to go out to a fast food restaurant and get into you're going to be tempted to do a lot of stuff. But when you continuously sit there in silence and solitude, away from your phone, when you continuously sit there and make it a point and say, hey, I'm going to just sit here and listen to myself. I'm going to listen to myself. And yourself is God. God made us in the image of him. God is within you. So listening to yourself is listening to God. But the only way you can hear yourself, the only way you can hear God, is through silence and solitude. That's why silence and solitude is so important. That's why silence and solitude help me, or is helping me, transform my life in this present moment. Because when you practice silence and solitude, you begin to hear God's voice loud and clear. Although he's not speaking loud, he's whispering to you. But in that silence, it seems so loud and clear. And I'm gonna tell you a quick point, and I'm gonna keep on with the message. The reason why the world is at so much turmoil today is because now more than ever, we have so many distractions. We have laptops, we have phones, flat screen TVs, iPads, you name it. We have so many distractions in our lives today, which is why we're going through so much spiritual warfare. We have so many distractions in our lives today that's really only meant to keep you away from yourself and the voice that's within you. Because if I'm on my phone, I can't listen to my intuition, really. I'm going to be distracted by all the things I see on social media. I'm going to be influenced by all the things I see on social media. So now more than ever, the world is at so much turmoil because there's so many things, gadgets that you can grab a hold of that's just going to distract you and take you further and further away from yourself. A lot of people are just scared to face themselves. They're scared to face themselves. That's another reason why people like to make money. That's another reason why people say money make you happy. No, money don't make you happy. Money affords you the opportunity to be able to buy yourself more distractions. You want a new car, that's another distraction. That's another shiny thing that's really just keeping you away from yourself. You bought a new house, that's another shiny thing that's just keeping you. You bought a new phone, you bought a new laptop, you bought some new shoes. All these shiny objects are just really distractions to keep you away from yourself. It is so hard for us to look ourselves in the mirror and love ourselves. And that brings me to my next point. The importance, the reason why silence and solitude is so important. For me, through my journey of silence and solitude, again, I had to face myself. I had nowhere to run. I had to look at all my flaws, all the things I didn't like about myself. I had to look at those things and be honest with myself and realize that this is who I am. This is who I am. And so when you realize this is who you are, number one, you stop running from yourself. And then number two, and don't get it twisted, these things are hard. These things are hard to do. But once you realize who you are, you start running from yourself. And when you start running from yourself, you begin to love yourself. And when you begin to love yourself, then you can begin to love others. Very important to love yourself. But you can't love yourself unless you, number one, look yourself in the mirror and realize who you really are. And get past the fact of hating yourself. You know, a lot of us don't like who we are, but we are who we are, and you must love yourself. But you can't love yourself if you don't go through that process, that painful process of being alone. And so in being alone, again, I was faced with who I was. The things I did when I was alone, the things I thought about when I was alone. That's me. That's who I am. And so, at first, that was hard for me to bear in the initial stages. But again, I stuck with it. And eventually, I began to let go and realize, hey, man, this is who you are. And you are uniquely made this way. And so, in saying that, I had to realize then again, you can't be hard. Like, you can't be hateful to yourself. You have to love yourself, because again, loving yourself is going to translate into loving others, because we all have our flaws. Nobody is better than the next person. We're all on the same playing field. We are all one. We are all one universal soul. And so loving yourself is very important. But to get to that point, you got to know who you are. But once you realize who you are through silence and solitude, it is pertinent. It is very important for you to find a way to love yourself. Love who you are. Embrace it. Love who you are. And then that's going to allow you to be able to love properly on others. So there's a few more points in regards to silence and solitude that I want to make that's going to stress the importance of it. Now, here's one point I want to make. Being that I experience silence and solitude, another reason why it hurt really deeply was because in silence and solitude, I didn't have my son around me. I didn't have my father around me, my mother around me, my sister around me, my friends around me. And for the most part, I still don't. My family, if you guys don't know me or know much about my family lives, or some of my family lives in Baltimore. A portion of my family lives in South Carolina, North Carolina, and I'm here in Texas. And I'm focused on building my future and focused on coming into my own adulthood, so I don't get to travel much. And when I was in college, if you guys didn't watch my video where actually my pops interviewed me, in college I didn't get to travel home much because I was so busy playing basketball. And so yes, I gotta admit, being away from my family is tough. That's one of the tough parts about solitude, the state of being alone. I'm alone. There's nobody to run to. There's nobody to distract me. It's just me. That's one of the tough parts about solitude is again, being alone. But one of the most hardest things about solitude for me was being away from my family. But I'm gonna tell you how that kind of transformed me and what it made me realize. What I realized in my solitude, and by the way, how I realized this is because when you're in silence and solitude, your intuition, like I stated before, becomes so much stronger. Your intuition becomes so much stronger, because you can hear yourself. So that's what intuition is, that gut feeling. That's that godly voice. That's you listening to yourself. And so what I realized in my silence and solitude and being away from my family was that a lot of times when we're around friends and family, they may be impacting our decisions and we don't even realize it. If you're around your friends, your family, girlfriend, boyfriend, wife, husband, whatever, like whoever you're around, you're a product of your environment. So whoever you're around may be influencing who you are, may be influencing your decisions, and you may not even realize it. You may think you want a certain thing, but really you don't. And you don't even know you don't want a certain thing because you don't even know who you are yet, because you haven't experienced the silence and solitude. You haven't been alone with yourself to figure out who you really are. So you may think you want something, you may think you're a certain person or whatever, and you really might not even be that person. And you won't understand that or know that until you get to a place when you're alone. So again, being away from my family is very tough, but being alone, I have been able to figure out who I really am. I've been able to come into my own adulthood. Again, when you're around family and when you're around support, you can't fully, especially, I'm talking about, the 18-year-olds, the 18 to 24, that millennial group, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23. I'm talking about that age group. When you're around your parents and stuff like that, there's something called coming into your own adulthood. And when you're around certain influences like that, when you're around certain help, it's harder for you to come into your own adulthood and to live in your own truth. Because again, you're just around those influences. So being in silence and solitude, I have been able to come into my own adulthood, figure out, who I am, figure out what I like to do, figure out, you know, figure out different things, fail at certain things, be late on bills, stuff like that, where, I had to go through tough times, but it allowed me to come into my own adulthood. I feel like I am an adult. I am mature. I am my own man. You know what I mean? And I couldn't get to this point unless I had went through that period of silence and solitude where I was just alone. So what I'm trying to stress and what I'm trying to get at here is that silence and solitude is very tough, and not many will experience it. Not many are willing to go through this journey. This is, I've been through some dark times. There's been times where, in my journey where I had to sleep on the floor, in Texas, you know what I mean? And, in those times, my family's not there to just pick me up. They're not there to just help me. And I'm not really interested, and I wasn't really interested in asking for help. You know what I mean? This is my journey. Sleeping on the floor at certain points has brought me to this point that I'm at today. You know what I mean? Like, it's all these things that I'm going through are molding me into the man that God wants me to be. And so, being alone, I had to figure some stuff out. I had to figure some stuff out. Like, I couldn't just go again and ask my friends for help and all that. I don't really even have friends like that. I know a lot of people, I have a lot of acquaintances, but friends, that's totally different. You know what I mean? It's really just me, and I'm thankful for that because I have made so many strides. I have grown so much in so many ways, and I only have silence and solitude really to thank for that. Of course, I have family to thank, also for certain things. Of course, I have, certain people to thank for certain things, but silence and solitude is very important, and silence and solitude has been big, huge in my growth and my transitions that I've experienced so far in life. Now, there's so much I can talk about and explain in regards to why silence and solitude is so important. I mean, I can go all day, and maybe I'll make a part 2 to this video, but I think with this next point, I'm gonna let it rest here, and kind of wait, for the next video or whatever to again share some profound knowledge and experiences that has helped me out in my life. So, the last point I want to make in regards to the importance of solitude is realizing where your love comes from. A lot of us, and I've been through this before, on both sides, a lot of us look to people for love. We look to our girlfriends, we look to our boyfriends, we look to our wives, we look to our husbands for love, we look to our parents for love, and that's cool, and that's helpful when you do have love from those people. But your one and only true and fulfilling love only comes from one source, and that's God. When I was alone in silence and solitude, it was very hard again in the beginning stages because I had a lot I had to figure out. I had a lot I had to go through to get to a certain point. But one of the most profound things that I realized and experienced firsthand was the love of God. And I realized in solitude that there is no love other than the love of God. No other love out here is going to fulfill you like the love of God. The love of God is all you need, and no other love out here is going to fulfill you like that love. You may think your girlfriend or boyfriend loving you is all you need, and all y'all say, this is my forever person. Number one, nothing is forever. Everybody always say, because I was that person, you know what I mean? We lean so much on the other person that a lot of times we end up running the other person off because they can't give us, no other person can give you what you're looking for, that true love, unconditional love, no other person can truly give you that. You only can get that from one source. Now, I'm not saying don't get into relationships and you can't never be with somebody, but what I am saying is don't get it twisted. Know where your real love comes from, your real genuine love comes from. Because relationships, oftentimes, it's ego attached to it. They got motives attached to it. You don't love this person unconditionally, truly. You are in love with this person is doing for you at the moment. That's how we as people, and I always noticed this growing up, you have one girl, let's say, take it from my perspective, you have one girlfriend and, oh, this is gonna be my girl for life. I love her. I'm never getting with nobody else. And throughout my life, I've had countless amount of girlfriends. You get into a relationship and I'm sorry, cat walking by. You get into a relationship and you putting it all on social media. Oh, this is my best friend. I ain't never breaking up with her. Oh, this is my wifey, blah, 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 blah. Y'all break up. You get into another relationship. Oh, this is my girlfriend forever. This is my wifey, blah, blah, blah. You break up. You get into another relationship doing the same thing on social media. Oh, now this is my person. I know I ain't messing up. Nobody's really your person. God is your person. And you can, when you realize that, you can then begin to get into healthy relationships. Because silence and solitude is important even when you're in a relationship. Nobody comes before God. God is a jealous God. And if you put anybody else before God, he's going to demonstrate. He's going to show you that, hey, you cannot worship any other God but me. He's a selfish God. And so I'm not saying that you can't be in relationships, but what I am saying is you need to get yourself on a healthy footing. You need to make sure your silence and solitude is up to par. And even your partner needs to make sure their silence and solitude is up to par. And then when you guys come together, you're not so needy on both ends. You know, she's not so needy from you and you're not so needy from her, because you're not looking to the other person to solve all your problems. God got you. And so when you experience silence and solitude, you become independent. You know what I mean? You become independent and you realize where your real love lies. And then when you have two people that experience these things and you have two independent people that come together and they still experience silence and solitude, then that's when you have interdependence, which is very important in a relationship. Relationships I've seen and I've experienced lack that interdependence, because most relationships, it involves dependence. You're just dependent on the other person to make you happy, but that's not where your happiness comes from. It comes from the love of God. So silence and solitude is very important. What does this look like? How do you put this into practice? Well, you get to a place of silence. It could be a home. It could be, here in Abilene, I sometimes go back up to my college, and we have something called the Quiet Place, where it's like little mini sanctuaries. It's different rooms, and you shut the door and you kind of have your silence, and they call it the quiet room. But any place where you can get it, even if it's outside where it's just a very quiet place, get to a quiet place. I would say preferably start at home. Get to a quiet place, put down your phone. Matter of fact, turn off your phone. Put down your phone, turn off the TV, unplug the TV. Don't play no games, don't eat no food, don't do anything. Just sit there and be with your thoughts. Sit there and don't be distracted. Sit there. I know it's hard. That's why everybody's at turmoil right now, because it's so many distractions. You can just, it's hard, trust me. But if you can do this, you will be a transcendent human being. Like, if you can get this down, trust me, it's gonna change your life. It's just a catch to it. Can you do it? Can you do it is the thing. But that's what you got to do. Get to a quiet place, at home, wherever. Put the phone down, turn the phone off, turn the TV off. Don't fiddle with nothing. Don't eat nothing. Sit there. And yes, it's that simple. Just sit there. Observe your thoughts as they come. As they come, observe them and let them go. Listen to yourself. Those little whispers, that that random thought that just pops into your head or pops into your gut as a gut feeling, those thoughts, you know, that's the intuition. That's that gut feeling. That's the intuition. That's God speaking to you. You know, you can also pair prayer with this. Prayer is also very important. So while you're in the silence and solitude, pray for certain things. And then listen for the answer, you know, ask for guidance, and then sit there in silence and listen for the answer. It's going to be a brief whisper, but you're going to know it when it comes about. Another thing that you can pair with the silence and solitude is writing. Write down your thoughts. Write down where you want to be in life. Write. That's one thing you can do in silence and solitude is write. That's not a distraction. Write down some of your goals. Write down where you want to be next year. Write down your prayer. Write down whatever's on your mind. Write down what's frustrating you. Write down what you, the guidance you want to receive from God. Write it down. Pray over it, and then just sit there. And this is not a one-day thing. You got to practice this, you know, as often as possible. You know, if it's once a week, get silence and solitude for once a week. The more the better, but if you can just start out with once a week, you know, do that, because it's going to change your life. Trust me. I've been there. I'm doing it. And I've made it to the other side of that darkness. You know, like I said, at first it was just so much darkness because I didn't have nowhere to run. I didn't have nothing to distract me. It was just me. And I had to accept me. I had to love me. I had to know me. So silence and solitude, man, is very important. Even like when you're driving in a car with somebody. When we're driving in a car with somebody, we always feel like something's got to take up the time. You know, I got to make sure the conversation keeps going. You know, I don't want there to be a dead lull in the conversation. I got to play some music. You know, something's got to be going on. You know what I mean? Because it's weird. A lot of us, because I've been there before, we feel like it's weird just to be in a car in silence. But that is silence and solitude too. When you're in the car with somebody and you don't have to talk, you don't have to listen to music. You just sit there and listen to each other. Like when you start practicing this, you realize how powerful it is. Like if I'm sitting in the car with somebody now, I don't, you know, if they say something to me, I'm not going to just ignore them. But I'm not rushing to talk. I'm not rushing to listen to music. I'm just going to sit there in silence, because when you do that, you can actually feel the other person's energy. You can actually you can feel them. That's how important energy is. That's how important silence and solitude is. That's how important intuition is. Like when you sit in silence and don't say a word and you sit next to somebody, these thoughts just start to pop. Not even thoughts, these feelings just start to pop up. Like you start to feel that person. Like you start to, like, if I'm sitting in silence and solitude with somebody, they don't even have to tell me if they're going through something rough. If we're sitting in silence and solitude, if we're experiencing solitude around each other, I'll eventually pick up and feel that, hey, this person is going through something. You know, maybe I'll ask them if they're all right. You know, they don't have to say a word. I can feel that. You know, I can feel that. You'll be able to feel that. You know, just try it. Just practice it sometimes. You know, you're in the car with somebody, try just not saying nothing. Just be silent and feel that person. Feel what's going on with them. Feel that energy. You know, feel that intuition. So yeah, I mean, like I said, man, it's a lot I can say about it. You know, I can talk forever on this topic, but I think I'm gonna go ahead and let, you know, things rest there today. But the main thing I want you guys to get is to try it out. You know, try out silence and solitude, because it is very important to your growth, to your transcendence, to your coming into your adulthood. It is very important for you to have and practice silence and solitude. Trust me on this. Well, yeah, until next time, I'm just going to leave this video right here. I thank you guys for watching. If I said something that helped you out today, you know, I just ask that you like this video, subscribe, and leave a comment. That's going to help out the algorithm and help get this video out there more. And it's not, you know, so much of a money thing for me. God always take care of my needs. The reason I want to get this video out there into the algorithm is because I know it can help people out there. But if they never see it, then that's what it is. They never see it, and they never get this powerful information that can help them out. So, You know, it don't take much to like a video, comment, and subscribe to help this video, you know, get out there and be promoted more. So either way it goes, even if you don't, I just thank you for watching, taking the time to watch today. I'm Tripp, and this is Tripp Talk. Until next time.